Welcome back to your Wealthy Mindset, where we talk about all things money, mindset, and business. I'm super excited to have Tracey Jazmin here as a guest today. We'll be talking about the mindset aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. Of all things money. Oh, it's such a big one. We've talked about this, I feel like, so many times back and forth on Instagram. So I'm excited to bring it all here.
Yeah, I'm super excited too. You were like the first kind of mindset performance coach that I've connected with that understands like the mindset, the nervous system, and how it's all connected with money.
Yeah, you did a reel recently, and I was just like, oh my God, yes. Like, people don't understand. Like, money is just, an energetic tool, and there's so many stories we hold. But we just think money is like a piece of paper or I guess plastic now in most of our worlds. But
Yeah.
it's so tied to so many things within us that a lot of us aren't even aware of.
Yeah, totally. And it's
Mhm.
like those beliefs we've been carrying with us since childhood. We don't realize that we're carrying into our businesses and into our lives as we grow up.
Yeah, exactly. We just think like a lot of the things we have are just normal. But I tell my clients this all the time, and it's a little bit deep, but like we weren't born out of the womb this way,
Yeah.
right? Like we were taught this stuff by our parents, by people who raised us, by, society, and now social media.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I bring that in with all of my clients. I am, as you shared, a holistic business strategist. So I didn't start here though. I started, I feel like forever ago when I was just 23 years old, and like money was a big piece of it. I like struggled so much growing up. I came from a single like mom family, and so there was always those like money is tight, money doesn't grow on trees, all of those pieces growing up. And so I brought all of that into my own business as we do.
Yeah, totally. It's like you don't
Yeah.
realize how much baggage you're bringing into something new.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you try to step outside your comfort zone,
Yeah, for
right?
sure. Yeah.
And that was like the biggest piece of it, right? Starting a business for all of us is probably outside of our comfort zones. And so, like when that happens, all of these stories come up and all of these like this self-talk comes up. And so when I started as a wedding photographer. And from there, I moved into being a brand photographer. And from brand photography, I moved into coaching. And so each pivot required me to let go of most of my income in order to like take the leap into the next one, right? It's like, how do you build two businesses at once? Well, eventually something's got to give. And so taking a leap from weddings into branding, for me, that was a loss of 80% of my income.
Oh, wow.
It was terrifying. But of course, like you save, you prepare, you get yourself like ready for that. And then also, I hate the word hustle, but you have that drive on the other side to like pull in these
Bring in
amazing
money.
things, right? And like all of that has to come back to like belief in yourself, trust in yourself, the confidence to put yourself out there and like do that next thing. So for me, weddings over into branding, it was a lifestyle change. That was a big piece of it. And then a lot of it came into just what was fulfilling me. It was so, I loved weddings, but them being on the weekend all the time, it
Yeah.
was so hard. And so I moved into brand photography after I actually pitched myself to someone on Instagram to see if she would work with me. And we did an interior design photo shoot. And she actually had a blog. And she said, would you be my photographer for my blog? And I was like, yes, I would
Oh,
love that.
wow.
That sounds great. And so, long story short, of course, I'm shortening my story by like about, 10 years here, I feel
Yeah.
like. But we hopped in there and I ended up loving brand photography. So that's when my income like went to a whole different world. But it's so interesting how money has played a role in literally every single decision I've made in my business. Like when I moved from Ontario out to Alberta, um, the market in Ontario was a little bit different compared to Alberta. At the level that I was at, in order to be taken seriously, I had to increase my prices by like at least $1,000.
Oh, wow.
And so it was one of those like, ugh, like that felt so scary for me and my nervous system, right?
Right. Because they
Yeah.
tend to undercharge.
Exactly. And it was like, well, that was normal in Ontario and that works for me over there. So why can't I just do that over here? Do I really have to? But in order to be taken seriously and be at that level, I had to increase my prices to that price point. But like that took me time. I had to like get used to it. I had to like
Right.
maybe I'll just go up in like, little increments so my poor nervous system can handle it. But there's been so many pieces of my journey. And I think a lot of times as women, we don't recognize that that's going to come up. And then when it does come up, right, there's like, oh, there's so much to like work through and it feels really heavy with money.
It feels really heavy and like very uncomfortable. And when you transition from like wedding photography into branding, did you take on anybody and everybody as clients, or did you like stick to your intuition and thought like these are the right type of clients? Because I know once we're transitioning as well, like especially for me when I started my accounting business, I was just taking on anybody and everybody just to get money coming in. But now I'm like firing clients, getting more intentional about who I'm working with and the type of work I'm doing. So at the beginning, did you already go into it with that mindset, or it was like kind of testing it out?
Yeah, I was a little bit of both. I think I was very intuitive. Like that's how I made the whole decision to go from weddings into branding. Anyways, was listening to my
Okay.
intuition and that nudge and that pull. But I was the same where I was like, well, do you want brand photos? Let's talk about it. Let's
Yeah.
see. There was very few people that I didn't ever jive with. I always kind of have that belief like I will pull in the people that I'm meant for at this time. Even if I had a challenging client, there was always a lesson. There was always something in there, right? Where it's like, add
Right.
that line to your contract, add this to that, like make sure this is clear over here, update
Yeah.
your welcome guide, right? Like there was always those
There's so
moments.
many
But,
different things.
at the end of the day, same as you, where I was like, I was leaving behind 80% of my income.
Yeah. Which
Like we
there's so
had to
much
get
fear around.
yeah, we had to get some stuff moving. And so that was a big piece of it. And then same with branding into coaching. When I started doing branding, I was like transitioning out of weddings. And so when I had those like overlap years, they were very financially prosperous.
Yeah.
Right. They just like as one was building and one was kind of like coming, like it would happen in the exact same year. And so that was another moment and thing to have to learn is having more money, right? We all think it's like scary to not have the money, but it's also sometimes scary to have the money.
It's so true. Yeah. Cause it's like you're not used to having that much money.
And all of a sudden, all of this money is rolling in, and you're like, what do I do with it? And then there's lifestyle creep. There's so many other things that come in, right? Where it's like, I've never had money growing up as a kid, so now I want to like go spend it
Splurge.
all or like buy a bunch of things or
Yeah.
whatever. Right. And so it's just so interesting how it's so weaved. Like it is not separate. Like you are so your business and whatever stories you're holding, like the money mindset is going to come right in and it's going to be illuminated. I personally like really fast.
Yeah. I always feel like ever since I started my business, like all my triggers, all like the areas where I've ignored throughout the years, I feel like it's all just been coming up and I've had to like deal through it, journal through it, and just like be more self aware of those kind of thoughts and things that are coming up. And it's like, what's this teaching me?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big thing that I teach with my clients is like the thoughts are here to teach us, right? The
Right.
thoughts are there for a purpose, but a lot of time we're believing them.
Yeah,
which is
totally.
which is the flip that I'm like, if every entrepreneur on like that has hears this, please do not believe every thought that you have. The more you can question your thoughts, the more that you're going to start to see the stories. Like, oh, that's just a story, right? Like
Right.
all of it you were born with. You
Yeah.
learned it from someone else, right? Like I think that also allowed me to like reclaim my own power was I wasn't born this way.
Yeah.
So if I wasn't born this way, like I could probably like backtrack and shift this, right? But it's so
Right.
interesting how much your nervous system is weaved into all of it as well. A lot of us think it's just my mind,
Yeah.
right? It's just like up here in my head, it's all these stories, but your body, your nervous system is actually what reacts to stimuli first. And then it sends the signals to your brain, which then creates the thoughts.
It's so mind blowing when it's like you break it down like that.
Yeah, right. So it's like
Right.
somebody pays for something in full and you typically have people pay a payment plan, right? That might be like,
Right.
well, do I deserve this? Am
Yeah.
I good enough for this? Like, oh my gosh, why are they paying in full? Like, what if this goes wrong? What if, like, right? The stories start. But it's like your
Yeah.
body and your nervous system has already responded to getting that payment in full. And
True.
it is uncomfortable with it. So now here come the stories to try and protect you.
How would you work through that?
Yeah, big piece is learning to find safety in all of these financial scenarios and situations. And so the first step is to reflect. A lot of times we have actually had safety in scenarios that are very similar to the one we're experiencing, but because of our past stories and lack of awareness, even, we didn't even realize it. Right. So, for example, say you have never had a supportive partner when it comes to finances, and it's just always been like you, and you've had really like independent financials, and it's always been something you wanted, and then all of a sudden you have it. right?
Right.
It's like you don't even like realize that it's like, oh, I've always wanted this, and I actually do feel really safe when it comes to finances. I actually do have safety with, you know, my current partner, and like that's really big. But you, when the hell do you stop to recognize that, right? It doesn't really like
Do you
hit
just
you.
self-sabotage then? Is that what happens?
Sometimes we do. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But like a lot of times is we want to like sit and reflect on how do you already have what it is that your body is looking for? Like safety around accepting payments in full, safety around having more clients, more money, right?
Right.
And you've got to train your nervous system that there's no bear attacking you right now,
Yeah.
right? Which is what it literally is thinking. It's like we are in danger, right?
Right.
It's crazy how a lot of money can make a lot of us feel like we're in danger.
That's crazy.
So yeah, with the nervous system, it's just so wild how much these things come up. And I think again, we think it's not going to happen when we have a lot of money. Once we have a lot of money, we'll feel safe.
There's
But
more
it's
problems
usually
with money.
the opposite way. Right? All of a
Right.
sudden, I have all this money, and then now what? Right? Am I going to be a lot of it for my clients at least is I'm going to be voted out of my tribe. Right? It's that energy of like I'm not going to belong anymore because I'm not going to be relatable. If I make a lot of money, people are going to want to me to pay, they're going to expect me to pay for everything, or they're not going to want to be friends with me because they're going to think I'm like so this or that. Right? Like the perceptions we have about people who have a lot of money.
Yeah,
That
totally.
that all starts to come into play too. They're greedy, they're bad people, they're selfish, they're, you know, all of those pieces,
Yeah.
right? Just because they have a lot of money.
That's so interesting. And it all comes back from like childhood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The narrative we heard.
The narrative we
Yeah.
heard, the experience we had, right? It's like, oh, we don't have money for that this month. Oh, we
Yeah.
can't have this, or money doesn't grow on trees. Or
Trees.
maybe
Yeah.
you actually grew up with a lot of money in your household, right?
Right.
And then there could be that stigma of, I need to create that for myself. If I don't make a lot of money, then I'm not successful, maybe, right? And like
Right.
how money is perceived as you grow up is how you obviously perceive it now.
Yeah.
But all of that gets to change. So your first step, yeah, reflect on all of the ways you probably have the safety that you're looking for. You just maybe haven't recognized it. And then you want to start to create these very conscious, I call them like conscious and like connected experiences where you're truly seeing like, it is safe for me to do X, and here's my proof and here's my evidence. So that your brain can start to see like, oh, yeah, I got a payment in full or whatever the heck happened, and I was okay. It's safe for me to receive that amount of money. It's safe for me to have that amount of money. It's safe for me to want more money. That's another whole thread of all of
Yeah.
this. It's, oh, I shouldn't want a 5-figure month. I shouldn't want these things. And it's not even that piece, but it's like there's so much more underlying, like, why do we want it?
Yeah.
Right? It's okay to want it. Money is just a tool.
I totally agree. I work with a lot of women, they all want 6 to 7 figures, but they're undercharging. They don't fully feel confident explaining their prices or packages as well. And it's just like kind of you have to work through that mindset. It's wanting it is one thing, but actually receiving it and
Mm-hmm.
doing the work is totally different.
Totally different. Like totally different, right? Even being able to confidently share your pricing.
Yeah.
That right there is a link to your money mindset.
Yeah.
Right? I've seen this with so many of my
Yeah.
clients too, where we come in to chat about money and pricing, and then their money mindset starts to influence the client's decisions or not. And I
Yeah.
always remind them, like, your money mindset isn't part of this. And they're like, well, I know she's struggling with this or something. So I don't, maybe I should give them a discount, or maybe I should, da, 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 da,
Yeah.
right?
I was that person.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. And so you just want to be a kind person. You're a good person at heart. You have so much integrity,
Yeah.
but we have to, like, you know, not separate emotions from our business, but we have to be really mindful when our own stuff is influencing our client. It's not up to us to decide if our client wants to spend that money or not.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Like it's not. And it's so like different for all of us, right? Like Kendall and Kylie Jenner spending $5,000 on something is way different than someone making 6 figures spending $5,000 on something.
Totally. Yeah.
It's all relative, right? And
Right.
so I think that's another piece of all of this as well. Like expensive is a relative term.
Yeah.
It totally depends on the income. It totally depends on what that person values. It totally depends on so many things. And so this is, where I share with my clients, like your money mindset can't be a part of the equation.
It's totally hard to like separate it from it though.
Yeah, right. Because you think you're expensive.
Yeah.
Right. And like I go through this too, and I'm not over here being like some angel who doesn't go through it, but I have these, same experiences too, right? Like when I moved from Ontario to Edmonton, it was like, oh gosh, I have to charge an extra $1,000 more to be like seen in my industry at the quality of work that I provide. And that was hard, really hard.
Yeah.
But the second I did it, all of the most amazing aligned clients came in, like within months.
That's amazing.
Like that energetic shift into like confidence.
Yeah.
That's what's going to pull that money in. And I think like money has like this weird, I don't know, like reputation, because it's, we talk about manifesting more money and we have to like be in the energy and be this,
Right.
and money is energy. But at the end of the day, it's just about feeling good.
That totally
Right?
makes sense. What are your thoughts like on just like positive affirmations, but really like your nervous system is not calm at all or regulated with money? Do you
Yeah.
think like the affirmations really make a difference, or the nervous system regulation is more of an important piece to deal with?
They're actually completely tied together.
Oh, are they?
Mm-hmm. So if you're saying something that you don't believe, your
Yeah.
nervous system is going to be like, ugh. Like it's going
Okay.
to react to it. So if you're like, I am a millionaire and I have all the money on the way, your brain's going to be like, BS, girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like, that's so not true. It's way too far fetched. So when you are making affirmations, you cannot just take on the ones that you see on the internet, on the cute little quote cards. Like it just doesn't work for most of us.
Yeah.
Affirmations need to be personalized to you and where you're at, right? And the affirmation has to feel stretchy but believable. It has to be that perfect balance of, this is stretching me, this is stretching my nervous system, it feels a little uncomfortable, but not so scary that your brain's like, okay, never gonna happen.
Yeah.
Because if it's saying that and there's no emotion that happens when you say that affirmation, there's no point.
Okay.
Emotions have to be like along with the affirmation. It has to feel like, yes, I can't wait. This is going to be so good. I'm so excited. Like I'm nervous, but I'm excited. I always tell my clients like nerve-sighted. Because we're in that like stretchy zone of being nervous, but excited. So affirmations need to be personalized to you. So sometimes I'll use what I call like bridging the gap with my clients, where sometimes, saying I'm a millionaire, not really going to land. But
Yeah.
maybe it's one day I totally see myself being a millionaire.
That's totally
We
different.
can start there, right? See, it's
Right.
like you like have those like stepping stones to kind of bridge the gap between like, here's my really big goal. Here's where I am right now. What could be a belief that could meet me in the middle? That affirmation that could meet me in the middle, so that it does feel safer for me to start to dream of like, what would it be like to be a millionaire? Like, what would you spend your money on? Like, take that $83,000 you make every month.
Yeah.
Start to divide it down. How much would go to taxes? How much would go to investments? How much would go to each different like thing, right? How much would you pay yourself? Like play in that money, in that like, space. But affirmations absolutely have to be specialized, personalized, tailored fully to you and where you're at and your nervous system. If they're not, then it's just going to send you in a spiral, and it almost undermines everything that you're trying to do.
That totally makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So don't take on those like generic ones from the internet.
Yeah.
Always make sure that they feel personal to you. So if you do see one on the internet that you like, oh, I love, like, I do want to be a millionaire one day, but like
Yeah.
saying that every day doesn't feel really, good for me. Then it's like, I'm on my way to being a millionaire.
And that sounds more believable and reasonable.
Exactly. Right. Then it's like, okay, yeah, I am on my way. Like I might only be at 6 figures right now, or I might only be at 200K, but like,
Yeah.
that must mean that is true, right? Your brain can be like, yeah, that makes sense. That's believable for me, right? But it's also stretching you to be like, what would that feel like? What would that look like? What would that sound like in your life? And when
Right.
you start to like attach to those three things, the seeing, the feeling, and the hearing, that's when it becomes real. That's when there's emotions, right? And then those emotions are what create the neural pathways in your brain to start to see like, this could be possible for me. This could happen for me.
Well, and then
Yeah.
what are your thoughts like on gratitude too? Because I know that's similar to affirmations as well.
Yeah. Gratitude is key. I say to all my clients, you cannot grow from a place of lack and scarcity.
That's so true. Yeah.
You can't. You
Yeah.
just can't, because all you're seeing is what's not going right, what's going wrong. Here's all the things that are, I don't have enough of. And so when you're in the energy of even like, even the like, I want to make $1,000,000, you're in the energy of wanting it.
Yeah.
And so you
That
stay in
more
the energy
scarcity.
of wanting it,
Yeah.
right? Exactly. If I want something, that means I actually don't have it.
Right.
So the shift for all affirmations is I am or I have.
Because you're
Like
stepping
the
into
energy
it.
of it's done. It's done.
Yeah.
I have it. I am that. It's just who I am. It's just what I have. It's just what I do. Rather than I want. Because when we're in I want, you're signaling essentially, yeah, I don't have it. Right? I need it. I don't have enough. So gratitude is the practice of seeing what you have right now, as we all know, as enough. What if, the few $100s you have in your bank account, the few thousand, the however much you have in your bank account was, something that you were truly, genuinely grateful for, not that surface level crap. Like, I'm so grateful for da da da, and it's just like, nah, I don't really feel any emotion to it. Again, there has to be emotion.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah, the emotion has to be there. If there isn't that, then we're missing the whole mark. Don't even bother doing gratitude.
I bought the 5-minute journal, and it was more like surface level, just checking it off that I did it, and like it did nothing for me.
Yeah, exactly, right? There has to be that deeper emotion and like pull, draw feelings, because it's those two things that go together: the thought, the vision, the belief, the idea, and then the emotions. How are you going to feel when you make $1,000,000? When you see that QuickBooks total, the balance sheet, the things all add up and it says revenue, $1,000,000, you see 6 zeros, right? How are you going to feel? And like when you start to like lean in there, then it's like, okay, that's going to be like, I don't even know. I'm going to be so excited. I'm going to be so proud of myself. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be right. Then all of the emotions that start to come up, that is actually what's creating the neural pathway in your brain.
Wow.
But without emotion, it doesn't work. It doesn't happen.
It's more just like surface level kind of
It's
checking
just
it off.
It's like air.
Yeah.
So gratitude is a really big piece. If you are in a lack and scarcity mindset, you have to start at gratitude. So if that's kind of the energy that any of you are in, start there. What are you already grateful for? And I mean like seriously grateful for, right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, when it comes to weddings and then moving into branding and then moving into coaching, branding actually came to me when I was, coaching came to me when I was doing branding. I was shooting all these amazing human beings in my mind, and they would share with me all of their struggles and all of their challenges. And for a lot of us, it comes back to confidence and trust and belief in ourselves. And then that is the ripple effect into not having the clients we want, not having the income we want, not having all of these pieces. And I was like, what? Like, who's helping us figure all of this out? And so that's when I decided to move into that coaching world and then marry the two together of we're also doing strategy and we're doing the mindset piece of it, because we are the thing that get in our own way all the time. Right?
You definitely need the balance.
Yeah, you absolutely need both, right? And sometimes there isn't a ton of mindset work, but we all have a brain. So that means that we all have mindset to work on.
And I feel like it's a never ending transition, and like something's always going to come up.
Always. Yeah, there's always going to be something, right? I think of all of us as human beings as layers.
Yeah.
Right? We have layers on layers on layers on layers, like just, we're just little onions over here with all of these layers. And you think like, man, I figured this out. Like I already worked on my money mindset so much. Like, why is it coming up again? It's probably coming up because you're stretching yourself again.
Yeah.
You're growing again, right? It's like, okay, now I want to raise my prices. Money mindset, all those stories, they're going to come right back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when your old clients start to question your prices and like why things are changing too. And then you have this fear of like, should I just keep them at the same price? Like, what does that kind of look like? And then you're just second guessing yourself.
Totally. It's like maybe nobody is actually going to pay these, or my client's going to leave me, and then I'm going to have no money. I'm going to have no income. And then like my clients and I will joke sometimes like, and then I'm just going to live in a cardboard box and I'm going to be penniless and I'm going to have nobody and nothing. And I'm just like, okay, but that's where our brain goes.
Yeah. It always was the worst case.
Yeah. In today's world, money is needed for survival.
Yeah.
It is like a bear is attacking us. That is what it actually feels like to our nervous system when we do or don't have money.
Wow.
Is
That's
an
so
attack on
powerful.
our survival. Yeah. And whether it's survival because I'm not going to belong and I'm not going to have my tribe and my community, right? We needed people
Yeah.
a long time ago, right? And I think that we miss that piece a lot right now, that we don't need other people. We can just be self sufficient.
Yeah.
And then there's the other side of I don't have it. So now I can't like survive, essentially. Right. And so it's
Right.
like money plays a massive part in our nervous system. I think every entrepreneur should dive into the nervous system side of money, not just the mindset side of it, because you can work on your mindset till you're blue in your face. But if your nervous system still feels unsafe to receive the money,
Yeah.
keep the money, invest the money, like you're almost wasting your time.
That's so true.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
How did your like journey start with money? I know you like you did some like financial work before too.
Yeah. So I actually wanted to be a financial planner. My journey started, I feel like, so long ago, but I've always loved seeing things grow. It is just something, whether it's like, I joke, whether it's like women or money or my plants, like
Yeah.
I just have always loved that so much. And so I was the kid, if I got $20 for my birthday, like that's obviously where my money story started. I saved it, I saved it, I saved it. But I was taught growing up with a single mom,
Yeah.
save your money, save it, save it, save it. But it was saving out of fear,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't investing or saving to like support and empower me. It was always like well, what if the world burns down, then you'll be okay and you'll survive, right? Again,
Right.
protection.
Right.
It's so crazy, but you don't even realize it. And then all of a sudden, all of these stories come out as you move into entrepreneurship. And so I ended up going down the road of photojournalism first in my career, decided that was totally not for me. I was never going to be a photographer, funny enough.
Yeah.
And then went down the road of accounting and finance. And so I did an accounting internship and I was just pushing paper around, as I feel like you do as an accountant. And I was like,
Yeah.
I can't do this. Like, I'm never going to make it in this world.
Yeah.
I just want to talk all the time. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe if I did finance, then I will be able to meet more people, chat with people, and really help them, right? I think all of us as human beings really have this like big desire to help people in another way. Like we want to make that impact, and then we want the income because we make the impact,
Yeah.
right? Like the
Right.
two things that go together. And so I obviously had the same thing, and I said like, how cool would it be to help people grow their money that they are making and like make the best choices, and then they get to like ride off into the sunset, live a life that they love because they have the finances to do it. Like
Right.
that would be magical. So I started on that journey. And again, it was one of those like climb the corporate ladder, and like in 10 years, maybe you'll actually get to see one client. And it was just too much of a slog
Yeah.
for me. And so I just went home like in tears every day, driving in traffic, the typical like 9 to 5 sucking story. Yeah. And then it was actually at that job that my boss was like, you need to go be a photographer. And I was like, you can't make money being a photographer, Jerry. Like, thanks so much. And he's like, well, not with that mindset, you can't. And so it's just so funny to see that like money and mindset have been a part of the story the entire time. And now, funny enough, now I'm a mindset, I focus on mindset as a business strategist with my clients. And I'm like, Jerry would be so proud of me. Yeah. So I pull all of that into my coaching as well when it comes to, making the smart strategic decisions when it comes to finances, and like all of that has been so, so helpful.
I feel like people definitely need that aspect because I always bring up like mindset with like finances and taxes all the time too. Whereas I find like a lot of like other financial advisors, other accountants don't even like connect the two or even talk about the two.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I think that's also even why I call myself a holistic business strategist, because we're talking about you,
Yeah.
right? Holistic being like all encompassing, not like holistic in the health sense. Holistic, like we got to look at you as an amazing woman. Like you've been through things, you've been through experiences, and all of those things, whether we like it or not, are going to influence every single decision you make in your business. And all of those decisions are going to influence your actions. All of your actions, obviously, they create
Yeah.
that
It's
reality
all
that you're
connected.
living in. Yeah, it's like, I feel like it's like building a house just like on the ground without a foundation. It's like, heck with it. We don't even need a foundation. We're just going to start building the house. And then all of a sudden the house crumbles because there was no solid foundation for you to build your business on.
That's so true.
Yeah, that's how I always see like the mindset piece of it.
Yeah.
We all want to build the house and have this grand house and have all the money, but a lot of us aren't willing to do the hard work, the deeper inner work to like have that, right? To receive it, to allow it to flow into our lives. There's the energy of, I'm not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
That is the number one thing. I'm not good enough. I'm not meant for this. Who am I?
Not worthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think worthiness is probably the number one thing that I work on with my clients when it comes to money.
Yeah, I feel like women in general just have a hard time feeling worthy of like earning money, having successful businesses.
Yeah, and I mean, it goes back for years.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the stats when it comes to like credit cards and mortgages and when we were allowed to have and do those things, it's not very many generations ago. It's my grandmother's generation. Like it's my mom's generation, for crying out loud.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah, so like we have, like you were saying, like generational like traumas and things and layers and cycles to break.
Yeah.
In this season of our lives, right? So it's not just even us, like it's been years down the line. Years down the line. So I tell my clients too, when we're working on this stuff, like you weren't born this way. Like you've been influenced not just by your mom, but like by her mom and probably by her mom and her mom and her mom. Like this is a long time coming, right? I feel like then it feels like, oh, this is a little bit easier to understand now. It doesn't feel like all of that pressure is on you, or like, why am I like broken, or like, what's wrong with me, or like, why do I always feel this way? Yeah.
Yeah. I always tell my clients, like, once you work through it, you're going to change the narrative for like future generations, like your daughter, your nieces, your sisters, any other women in your life. You're going to show them like what a healthy relationship with money actually looks like.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And like, what do you think a healthy relationship with money is? Like, how would you describe it?
I would say like, look, like when you open your bank account first thing in the morning, like being more neutral towards it. Like it's just like numbers on a screen.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. It's like, it's a tool. It's a, right? Like my worthiness doesn't go up or down based on how much I make.
Exactly. Yeah. Or even like your credit card balance. Like let's say it's $10,000, for example. Like would the millionaire version of you worry about a $10,000 balance? No.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Stepping into that energy like ahead of time. Absolutely. Yeah. It's hard. It's so hard for people to be neutral to money. But when you do, I feel like it's like you unkink a garden hose.
Yeah.
Right? You take all of that pressure off.
And I think a hard thing is like, I've always heard, and I believe that like you have to believe it within before you actually see it externally.
Mm-hmm.
And we're so quick to want results and things, and we're so impatient. But how does someone build up that patience and like have that trust in themselves? Like, I want this, like I'm fully connected with it. It's gonna happen. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's a practice.
Yeah.
Mindset, money, trust, belief, confidence, all of it is a practice. And I think this is like what I was speaking to before. Not very many people are willing to put in the time and practice it. Like you don't learn how to ride a bike by reading a book.
Yeah.
Right?
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. And it's the same thing here. You don't learn how to play pickleball by reading a book.
Yeah.
Or by doing it once.
Right.
You don't go to the court one time and then walk away a superstar. I mean, maybe some people, and they're in the Olympics, but we're not them. For the most part, like it takes everything we want to do that we haven't done before is going to take practice. And these fluffy things like build trust in yourself. You think you should just be able to think your way to it, but you can't. You can't. You have to act your way into it. Same with confidence. How do you build up confidence? You act.
Yeah.
You take action. You do the things. You practice like doing the thing outside of your comfort zone. They're like, okay, I did it. That was awesome. Like nobody died, which is probably what we're thinking and feeling, right? And same with trusting yourself, right? It's like, you know what? No, I feel like this is the right path for me. This is the right way. This is the right thing. What if I trusted myself to make good decisions?
Right.
What if I trusted myself to do things well or the right way for me, right? All of those things. It always is a practice. And so obviously therapy is a great, obviously, first step for all of us, but coaching is a big piece of it. Having someone who can teach you how to practice right? And I mean, there's so much information on the internet. You could probably do like a Google, a YouTube, like there's so much in there to like kind of get you kickstarted. Podcasts, obviously,
Yeah.
would be a great start too. There's so many books out there, but at the end of the day, it's going to come back to the same thing. No matter what resource you look at or what one you go to, at least I hope, because that means they know what they're talking about, is it's going to come back to a practice. You cannot
doing it.
Actually implementing it, actually doing it, right? It's like you don't just learn this thing that I heard this great podcast and they said that I should practice mindset and then you never practice it.
Yeah.
I said I should practice believing in myself, but I never take the moments to practice it. And like one of the coaches I used to work with, she called it I forget what it is, like the art of opportunistic something or other. I forget the exact word, but basically like there's so many opportunities in your day-to-day life for you to build confidence, for you to build trust, for you to build belief in yourself, but are you taking them?
Right.
Right? In those moments, are you even aware? Right? When a new client reaches out, you responding is you building up your confidence. It's like, are you even aware of it? Right? And then I think, like I said before, reflection is a really big piece of it. I think for a lot of women, like we feel like we have like, I'm no confidence. I'm just not a confident person. And I'm like, do you feel confident driving? Like, oh, yeah, I could like, yeah, that's totally fine. Okay, so it's not true then that you don't have any confidence, right? It's like, oh, okay. Then we start to like prove our brain wrong and start to see like, we get to illuminate the exact area that we don't have that confidence, that we don't have those pieces. Right. And then it's like, well, that's what you get to work on then. That's way easier than believing you're the human being who has I'm just not a confident person.
Yeah.
Right. And so
black and white.
Yeah, exactly. That's what our brain wants to do. Right. Because then we don't move. Then we don't take any action. Then we don't do anything. Right. I'm just not a confident person. So hard to build up that level of confidence. So I'm just not going to do it at all. But
right. I see that all the time, even with like women showing up on social media, showing up their face, talking like on the camera and stuff. There's so much fear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so much fear. And I think like this is something one of my clients is going through right now is like the more you take the action, the easier it gets.
Yeah.
But just taking it the first time, if you can just have enough courage to be vulnerable, to show up that one time.
Yeah.
Right. And then reflect. And then again, be really mindful of like how we talk to ourselves afterwards. Like, oh, it sucked and you took you 17 takes to get that freaking thing recorded. Like, why do I do this? And all of those stories, it's really important to be really mindful of those because that's going to undermine you again, right? You're outside your comfort zone. Your brain is going to do everything. It doesn't care about your goals and your dreams. I wish it did.
Yeah.
It just doesn't, right? Our heart is the thing that cares about the goals and the dreams and the impact and all of those beautiful things. But your brain is just designed to keep you alive.
Wow.
Yeah, that's it. Right. And so it's going to do everything to sabotage you. That's why you have to have that conscious practice. Because if you don't, it will continue to take the easy road for you every single time. And that easy road is going to be your old patterns.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like you have to work on that every single day. Little moments here and there. So maybe it's a morning routine where you set yourself up for success. You do a journal like moment, you meditate, you visualize, whatever that is. But like those pieces are how you're going to build it up. Visualization, I'd say, is probably the number one way most clients will start to build that up. So you were saying like, how do you start to like step into that world? Practice, number one, but visualization is huge. Imagining that you already have it.
Mm-hmm.
Imagining what it would feel like, right? So because again, you're pulling in the emotions.
Right.
That's what you need for it to start becoming believable.
And then for nervous system regulation, I know there's so many different things like tapping, like deep breathing, box breathing, like even humming. Is there something you recommend or is just what works for the person?
Yeah, there's so many tools and it's like, what writing utensil do you love to write with? I can probably say that all of us is different, right? But the tool is we're still writing. Whatever it is, we're still writing. It's just what tool works for you. And you might change your mind. I always loved this one pen and I always bought that one, but then I found this new pen and it's working for me so much better. It's kind of the same energy of like, what tool feels aligned and good for you. And sometimes I'll challenge my clients to the thing that you want to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the tool that's going to support you the absolute most right now. So a lot of clients, they're either gung-ho for journaling or they like will not journal, like cannot get behind it.
Yeah.
Whether it's for fear that somebody's going to read it or what have you. But I always encourage my clients to move in the direction of their fear, because that's where you're going to have the most growth. So it doesn't matter the tool. Whether you use journaling to reset your nervous system, whether you take space and silence alone to meditate, or just do breathing, it doesn't matter. Whether you go outside and you get your feet out on the ground, hopefully it's summertime because that'd be cold.
Yeah.
If you're in our section of the world. Whatever it is, maybe you leave your house and you go for a walk. Walking is one of the easiest ways to regulate your nervous system because your eyes are moving back and forth. And so what it's doing is your brain is looking at everything around you and it's saying, oh, okay, there's no threats.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
If you're on your phone like this,
yeah,
you don't have your peripheral. So your brain is just dialed into this one thing on Instagram, doom scrolling. And guess what? You're probably going to get anxiety. Your nervous system is probably going to be dysregulated.
That's so true.
Yeah. So if you go outside, you go for a walk, your eyes are scanning always, right? This bilateral movement, and it's assessing, okay, there's no threats. But the threats online, right, of like, oh, look at her and she's doing so well and I'm not, and oh my gosh, right, that's a threat. When you go outside and you have that movement of your eyes, it's like, okay, there's no bears, there's no tigers, there's any of that stuff. So that's probably the easiest way. The easiest way is like go outside and go for a walk. Be in nature. Just go. Yeah. Get out of your house. Get off of your damn phone. Do not be listening to a podcast while you walk. Yeah. No music, no nothing. Just be. Right? I think today we are filling our minds with so much like information, consuming. But like be mindful of what you put in your ears.
It gets so overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. And it's dysregulating again for your nervous system to consistently be absorbing all of this and then doing nothing with it. Right. So that's a big piece, but it genuinely does not matter the tool that works for you, but you have to learn what it feels like when your nervous system is activated, right? In the direction that you don't love. And then knowing these are my tools. When I feel this way, having that cue, right? Rather than just like living in that energy, right? Being like, okay, I can feel myself feeling like overstimulated and dysregulated. What do I need to like bring myself back down? Because only when your nervous system is like in that neutral state, can you bring in all of the amazing opportunities.
That's so true. Yeah, I always find I feel a lot calmer once I take a break and go for walks.
Yeah, and like
now even connected what you just said, it makes so much sense.
Yeah, even like the good things, right? Like you have an amazing podcast interview and you hop off and you're so excited, right? Your nervous system is still not at that neutral state, learning how to calm yourself down from that, right? And just like, okay, that was amazing. That was so exciting, so good. But just like coming back down into that regulated state again. That's a good, nervous system dysregulation, but we always think of it as a negative. But there's also good versions of it too, when you're excited and you're lit up and you're so pumped, all of those things, right? A lot of us like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to like go for a walk and shake out all of this amazing energy. Like I just booked a client, or I just had an amazing podcast, or if you're a speaker, you speak on a stage and you have those big moments, right? That like rush of adrenaline. And then you come off the stage and you're like, oh, okay, that was a lot. You probably need to like move or breathe or go be quiet or silent to just like bring yourself back down to that level ground. So it's the same thing, whether you're going up or you're going down. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I've learned so much today.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah, there's so much money, mindset, nervous system. It's all all intertwined, all weaved together. But I'd say nervous system first, then your mindset, and then the money pieces. I wouldn't say they start to like flow, right? I feel like that's like such a like misleading piece of information. But when you really start to work on like the nervous system and why it feels unsafe to have money or receive money or keep money, save money, or whatever it is, then the mindset pieces start to shift and change kind of naturally. But I find a lot of people will try and do these mindset pieces, but they do it logically or at a surface level state. Like Yeah, I do mindset work. I journal in my, in my 5-minute journal. And it's like, it's
Did
probably
you
not
really?
at the depth that's actually going to create a sustainable result for you.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's a big piece of it too, that it's not just this fluffy surface level work. Like, you've got to dig into the uncomfortable stories, the uncomfortable experiences, the uncomfortable self-talk. And
Yeah.
that's when you start to really like uncover things. And I think everybody who ever works with me is like, okay, I knew we were going to dig in, but like, I didn't think we were going to go that deep. But the whole goal is to, of course, help you have sustainable results. Like, I don't want you to learn one thing and then come a month later and you're right back in that old pattern.
Yeah, then you're just going in the same cycle over and over.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, let's hopefully spread that out. So it's like you can, grow. And then when you stretch your comfort zone and you want to grow again, it's like, oh, right, there's that pattern. I've seen you before.
Yeah.
You're a little bit more acquainted with it.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of emotion just comes up with it too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, so much emotion. And a lot of us don't want to feel,
Yeah,
right? It's like, oh, I don't have time to feel my emotions. I'm too busy.
right. So true.
Right? I've got too much on my plate. This is too hard. Like, it's harder for a lot of people to feel their emotions than it is to just stuff them down.
Mhm.
But science has proven, if this makes any of you feel any better, that it only takes 90 seconds to fully feel an emotion.
That sounds so quick.
A minute and a half. If you will sit there and you will allow yourself to feel the anger or the sadness or whatever it is, the emotion usually passes in a minute and a half to 2 minutes. Like, if you fully sit into it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm think to myself, I'm like, when was the last time I've cried for like longer than 10 minutes consistently,
Yeah.
straight?
That's so interesting. Yeah, because I feel like I have crying moments and then let myself sit with it and then I'm back to normal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the process, right? Is all emotions are good.
Yeah, I feel like
Love
I've
all
been told
emotions.
like crying, sadness is not good.
Yeah, it's weak.
Yeah.
Why are you crying? Like, suck it up. You're fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Everything's gonna work out. Like, I don't even know why you're worried about it. But when you allow yourself to feel that emotion,
Yeah.
right? It's a version of you, like a younger version of you too, who's
Mhm.
got some feelings coming out, right? Like, again, all of these stories and all these experiences, they go like years back.
Yeah.
Hmm. And so a lot of times there's just unprocessed emotions around money, around accepting money, around being safe with money, around having enough money, right? Especially
Right.
like depending on how you grew up, it's maybe not felt safe to have money at all in any way, shape, or form because you didn't have it growing up, no matter how much you want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you work with women that are just starting on this journey or more women that have started it and just working through it?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a mix of both. Um, some people are coming in and they like have totally worked on themselves when it comes to money mindset, and they are super self-aware. They know all the things. And some are like, you know what? I don't think that there's too much money mindset that I need to like really work on.
Mhm.
But things are always uncovered, which is
Right.
like my favorite part. It's like, oh, I didn't even realize that that was there,
Yeah.
right? And it's like every time you do that, then it's like, okay, there's something there, and it's really fun to like see where everyone comes in at, and then when we're done working together, or after time goes on, it's like, okay, remember where you were in the beginning, remember how money felt to you, remember how XYZ just like was in your life. And it's so fun to see in months, like not even like people are like, it's going to take me 4 years to figure that out, but months and months with constant practice and dedication.
Yeah.
In months, people are totally completely shifting their lives, like opening second locations and like so many things. Like what once was so terrifying to them
Yeah.
is like, oh yeah, I could do that again. Like clients like, yeah, I have a $10,000 lease to sign, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
that's a big deal. And it's like so scary in that moment, and then they do it and they practice it, they stretch their nervous system, and then they're like, you know what, I could do that again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's like riding the bike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, people come in at all different spaces in their journey. And I think that's my favorite thing as a strategist and coach, is to meet people where they're at,
Mhm. Yeah,
wherever
because I
that
feel like
is.
everyone's journey is so different.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And like, there's no cookie cutter strategy that's going to work for anybody when it comes to money or mindset or business. It just
Totally.
doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right. That never works. Like, I've been in the courses, I've been the things, and it's just, there's pieces that resonate and there's pieces that don't, but you really truly need some form, at least in my opinion, of individualized, personalized support to like get those deeper, bigger results. Right. In the
Yeah.
beginning, sure, we're like learning about
Right.
concepts and stuff, and then we got to really start to implement them, and that's when the deeper stories come up and all of those bigger pieces.
Yeah, I totally agree on like the personalized one-on-one support. I know a lot of coaches just promote like cookie cutter kind of techniques and it's just like this is the framework you need to use, but I feel like it varies individual.
Oh, absolutely, right? Because again, this comes back to psychology and your whole entire life experiences. Like, what you went through as a kid growing up is completely different to what I grew up with a kid as a
Yeah.
kid. And so when someone's like, okay, just apply this strategy,
Yeah.
right? Like, it doesn't hit the mark for maybe you, but it hits the mark for me.
Right.
And then you're over here being like, well, what do I do then?
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like the topic can be money mindset, but we have exercises, but like, I've had clients come into an exercise and one person goes like so far to the left and the other person's so far to the right. And they're like, I actually didn't feel, like I really needed this exercise. That felt really validating and I felt really proud of myself. And the other clients over here being like, oh my gosh, like this was the hardest exercise of all time.
Yeah.
Right. It's just, it totally depends on what you've been through. So that's like, again, the holistic piece for me as a business strategist. We have to look at who you are. We have to take into account what you've been through and your life experiences and how you were raised. And like, just all of the growing up pieces have to be included.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All the things no one tells you when you start up a business.
Yeah. I just wanted to like, go after my passion, but
Yeah.
here we are uncovering all these things. I always joke that like entrepreneurship is totally the like fast track to personal development. Every single time you'll bring up every single layer or
Yeah.
like wound or thing, whatever you want to call it, every single story that you have,
Yeah.
you'll illuminate all of them and like fast, very,
Yeah.
very fast. And that's
I
like,
agree.
we need coaching from the beginning so
Yeah.
that we can really start to see all the things that are going to stand in our way.
Yeah, I feel like people don't realize it until they're so far into the business, and then they don't have that good foundation, and just like then they have to go back to the beginning and like build up the financial side, the mindset side, and it's just like they're starting over again because they didn't take the time to actually build that foundation.
Exactly. I think that's what it feels like too. That's a big piece of the Evolving Entrepreneur program that I coach women through, and we just launched it last Wednesday. Is building up that foundation, right? Like, a lot of them have had a lot of success and brought in, almost six figures or more, those things, but they're missing this foundation. And so, in order for them to launch into the next level,
Yeah,
like it's like there's no springboard for them,
right.
right? Because like, sure, money is great, but money is not going to solve your lack of trust, your lack of belief, your lack of confidence in yourself. The fact that your nervous system can accept money is great, but the fact that it feels scared to go off and make more,
Yeah,
right? It's like, that's the foundational pieces that we all have to build up. But I think, I don't know truly anyone who's ever built that up first and then gone for it. It's like, you know what? Let's just go for it and see where the gaps are, and then we'll
yeah,
go back and fill those gaps afterwards. So, no shame or judgment, obviously. But I think
yeah,
in a perfect world, what would I love? I would love that every entrepreneur who's thinking of starting her business, and like, I mean, a big business. I mean, like, we really want to build something for like the rest of our lives, kind of it, like the
yeah,
legacy, we maybe want to sell our business and exit it, like that level.
yeah,
Um, start getting coaching from the beginning, and like from someone who does understand, not just understand, but like has training in that like mindset psychology side of things, because it's going to come up.
yeah.
Just is. Yeah, it just is.
What's the best way for our listeners to connect with you?
Always Instagram, always, always. I love that app. I love connecting with people. Like, I always say, like, hit me up in the DMs. Let's talk. Let's chat. Like, it's called social media. Let's make
Right.
it social. Let's actually talk and connect and like hang out, is what it kind of feels like sometimes with the amazing humans that I meet on the Instagram. Wow, I sound like I'm like 65 years old on the Instagram. But my handle is at Tracey, Tracey .Jazmin, Jazmin.
I'll also share it in the show notes as well. And we had connected over Instagram too, just in
Yeah,
our DMs.
exactly. Right? It's such a beautiful platform. I actually met all 3 of my best friends on Instagram.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's the best. I love Instagram so much. So come hang out.
That's perfect. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much. Bye.